your weekly Quran study. We are continuing to study Surah 76, Al-Insan, and this is our 5th gathering, inshallah. Just as a general reminder, we'll be starting our study at 8:30 in the remaining studies as the Maghrib prayer moved on. So we'll be starting at 8:30, inshallah. So with that, I will turn to Dr. Yamina, who will lead us as usual. And we're always welcome to join in with questions and comments, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair, Sister Yamina. Bismillah.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. I just wanted to note that Isra reminded us that we will start at 8:30 inshallah, because Maghrib prayer is at 8. But this will be, I think, only 2 at the most 3 weeks, because afterwards it will be the month of Ramadan, inshallah, will start, and then I guess the time will be different. It'll be announced, inshallah. So back to Surah 76, Surah Al-Insan. Last week, actually more than the last week, we've seen how the blessings gifted to the righteous, al-abrar, in paradise, that started with ayah, I think it was 10 or 11, ended with ayah 22. And we stopped at ayah 22, which was a beautiful ayah. إِنَّ هَذَا كَانَ لَكُمْ جَزَاءً وَكَانَ سَعْيُكُمْ مَشْكُورًا. And the righteous will be told in paradise, truly all this is your reward, since your endeavor has been appreciated, which is al-fawz al-azim. God himself appreciates their endeavor, mashallah. Then we are told in ayah 23, truly it is we ourselves who has sent to you the Quran gradually. This is an interesting area. We are told, "Inna nahnu nazzalna alayka al-Qur'ana tanzila." Inna. So inna means inna nahnu already, plus nahnu nazzalna. So there is an emphasis on we. It is we who ourselves have sent to you the Quran gradually. When I read this, I stopped. I stopped because, like, I did carry on reading 24, 25, 26, because it seemed after 26 the theme changes. So I'll share with you 24, 25, 26, and then go back to 23, inshallah. So in ayah 24, we're told, so be patient, or submit patiently to your sustainer''s judgment. فَاصْبِرْ لِحُكْمِ رَبِّكَ وَلَا تُطِعْ مِنْهُمْ آثِمًا أَوْ كَفُورًا. And do not yield to any of them who is a willful sinner or an ingrate. And remember your sustainer's name at morn and evening. وَاذْكُرِ اسْمَ رَبَّكَ بُكْرَةً وَأَصِيلًا. And prostrate before him during some of the night, and glorify him at length by night. وَمِنَ اللَّيْلِ فَاسْجُدْ لَهُ وَسَبِّحْهُ لَيْلًا طَوِيلًا. So after ayah 22 last week, I felt like now I want to be among the righteous, the abrar. And we have been told who they were and how they lived earlier. But I felt like, can you tell me something more that would make it easy to remain righteous, to remain in that path of bir, of righteousness, like show me the way. Has to be, it has to come from inside out, so it's easy. If I find myself pushing myself, it means something is not quite right. I'm not getting it. Because when we, from inside we get it, then we become the abrar. We become, that's who we are. So it comes easily. And then when I read the following ayat, from 23 to 26, I could feel okay with 24 to 26, because it says, be patient, remember your names, your Rabb's name, prostrate before him. Okay, they may be the answer, but how about Ayah 23? I was really, I did not get why, what is it doing there? What is it doing in this particular place here, right after the description of paradise? And it's not saying be patient, do this, do that. It's saying it is we ourselves who have sent the Quran to you gradually. And why the emphasis? Not only it is we, but truly it is we ourselves who have sent to you the Quran. So somehow I expected 24 and 22, 26, but I was really puzzled by Ayah 23. And I looked at some commentaries, and even when you are looking at the translation, a lot of translation will have a parenthesis when it says "Inna nahnu nazzalna alayka." They write in the translation interpretation, "We have sent to you, O Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam." And so they understand it as referring to the Prophet ﷺ only. Some do. Usually we understand the Quran as being revealed primarily to the Prophet ﷺ, but then to us as well, otherwise he would not bother to reach out and bring the message to everyone. So, but then if you say that's the Prophet ﷺ, it becomes even more puzzling. I mean, surely the Prophet ﷺ knew it is God who sends the Quran. So why mention it? And why at this particular place in the surah? And why with so much emphasis? Truly it is we who ourselves send the Quran, send down the Quran. Who else other than God would send the Quran anyways? It's not like there is a contendant. Plus, this is speaking to the believers. The addressee already accepts that the Quran is God's word and it is God who sends it. So clearly this ayah is not stating the obvious. It is guiding us to look beyond. That's what an ayah is. An ayah is something that indicates something beyond itself. But this ayah is particularly a powerful ayah. Then immediately, immediately, but like after hours or maybe days, I was very busy this week, so I always read and memorize those ayats so that I keep them in mind and just reflect on them. And I could not move beyond, because like, what does this mean? I was there waiting. And then as I was waiting and I was getting some clues here and there, then I remembered, because when this is I won't get into that, but that's a rule of balagha, that when something seems to be stating the obvious, then there is something else meant there. No, and I remember that, or I was made to remember, and with other signs. Then I felt immediately, but immediately not from the beginning. I felt very peaceful and ready to go back into surrender mode. I realized that I had switched without realizing while I was, my intention was trying to understand the area 23. I had switched into, I need to figure the meaning of this area mode. I need to figure things out myself mode. And it dawned on me that everything is done unto us. And that's exactly what this ayah is saying. So relax, trust, submit to your Rabb, and wait patiently. He will definitely answer, but in his timing, not in mine. Because I know nothing. And what I was doing was meddling in my ignorance and forgetfulness. Then this emphasis felt like a reassurance, alhamdulillah, relief, and promise that all is good, bi'idhnillah. Because God is definitely sending the Quran, the guidance. It is He Himself who is sending it. So like, why are you trying to make this effort? It will come. He's sending it. He's sending it. Just relax and be. My part is to be open to receive it, not to stress out in trying. Not. I was not in a stress mode apparently, but like I was not in that full, knowingly, mindfully receiving mode either. I was trying to understand. And so when the more I started reading the ayah again and again, then that emphasis, instead of being puzzling, became very reassuring, because it was a promise that God is in control. He is definitely Himself taking care of it. So I don't have to worry about how I get the guidance. He's sending it. All I have to mind is to remain open to receiving the guidance, to receiving the light of divine guidance and that understanding, and not to miss it. So all I can do is miss it. All I can do is be close to it. All I can do is block it or remain deaf to it or ignore it. Otherwise, when I don't block or remain deaf or ignore it, then I hear and see. And it is a gift, as we were told in the very beginning, in the second ayah, truly, إِنَّ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ نُطْفَةٍ أَمْشَاجٍ نَبْتَلِيهِ فَجَعَلْنَاهُ سَمِيعًا بَصِيرًا. We have created the human being out of a drop of fluid so that we might try him, and therefore we made him, God made us hearing and seeing. It means He endowed us with hearing and sight. We are made to hear and see. We are made to understand. And that was the answer to the emphasis. And it was like, oh, big relief, a big gift, a rahmah, a mercy, a healing. And because healing is like when we surrender and we realize that everything is done unto us, which is what abd is, and that we are only receivers. And so our part is just not to block the ni'mah, the blessings and the gift, and be grateful for them, because that's the way to not block. The more we appreciate the gifts, the more we remain open to receive it, and receive it from our Rabb. Because sometimes we receive, but we think we did it ourselves, or we received it from some other causes other than our Rabb. Then I felt the need to reflect on the meaning of tanzil, because still, what is this ayah it's good, but what is it doing at this stage of the surah? And I felt that would lead me to the answer to that my question, which is why mention Tanzil at this stage of the surah? And there are actually two other points in Ayah 23. There is the emphasis, there is the Tanzil, descending down, and there is the fact that it is happening gradually, meaning in divine timing, which is why we are asked in Ayah 24 to wait for our Rabb's judgment patiently. So, Tanzil, what does it mean that the Quran is sent, is being sent down to us? We've touched on this issue many times, especially when once we reflected on the ayah شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن. Maybe it was during or before the month of Ramadan. And we asked ourselves, how is Ramadan known as the month of the Quran rather than the month of fasting, for instance? I know that people say it's the month of Quran because the Quran was revealed during that month. Yes, but what is the hikmah of the Quran being revealed during that month? And how about me, us, right now, during the month of Ramadan? The Quran is not especially revealed in that sense. It has already been revealed in the sense that's used usually. But I'm using it in the sense that it is being revealed. The meaning is being revealed onto us constantly here and now, and we are being guided. And so we were reflecting on how fasting, the activity of fasting related to the inzal, or here unzila, unzila, then inzal, descending of the Quran. We also talked about inzal in the context of Surah Al-Ra'd, which starts with ألف لام ميم تلك آية الكتاب والذي أنزل إليك من ربك الحق لكن أكثر الناس لا يؤمنون. ألف لام ميم را. Those are the ayat of the book, and what your Rabb has sent down to you is the truth. Yet most people do not believe. So we understood then that the inzal, the sending down, the process of sending down, because of the ayat is a dynamic, it's a verb. It's a verb, and in another ayah in Surah Al-Waqi'ah, it's actually used as masdar, tanzil. So, which is definitely a dynamic process, an indication to a dynamic process that's occurring here and now, always, constantly. So in the case of the ayat of the Quran, the words, the literal meaning is written and memorized, and now we save it in audios, for instance. And the meanings and what those meanings indicate is what God sends down. So God sends not only the words and the sounds, but with the words and the sounds there are meanings. And with the meanings, just like the sounds refer to meanings, the meanings refer to something that is lived, to something, to a reality. For instance, we see the word, or we hear the word Rahman, and we understand something from it, and then we experience it in the word as Rahmah, as mercy. And we get to know God as the merciful, the compassionate. And we get to know mercy and compassion through the very different manifestations of Rahmah in the world, in the form of many things, of many blessings. So God sends down that Quran through our thoughts, first through our thoughts, our feelings, through life, through the creation, and through the creational ayat. So all this, our thoughts, our feelings, everything, are the creational ayats, ayat in creation, and ayat takwiniya. So ayat al-Qur'aniyya manifest themselves for us by means of the ayat al-takwiniya, the creational ayat. As such, it is as though, here I'm going quickly, but Imam Nursi explains this in many places in details. So it is as though God speaks verbally in the Quran and non-verbally through his creative activity. And the two are happening at the same time. The Quran, the verbal Quran, is explaining and translating the creation. And so the Quran unfolds through it, the meanings of the Quran unfolds through the creation. At the same time, the creation reveals the meaning and the beauty and the guidance and the light of the Quran, and it confirms its messages, confirms the messages of the Quran. And the mission of receiving Nur is to learn how to receive those messages that are indicated and revealed through the literal meaning that we recite in the Quranic ayats, and that unfold within the ayat in the creation. So because as we learn to receive the messages indicated and revealed through the literal meaning of the Quran, the ayat of the Quran, they teach us how to decipher and read and understand the ayat in creation. And as we understand the meaning of the ayat in the creation, we get to go back and confirm that's what we learned in the Quran was haqq, sadaqallahu al-azim. It's like a map, we said. I get the map is about the territory is life. I go around and I find exactly that the map is a true map. And so I say, yes, this map is true. It's a map of who we are, of our feeling, of life, of this world, how it pertains to akhirah, how it pertains to the divine names, how it pertains to rububiyyah, how it pertains to our ubudiyyah. SubhanAllah, it's just very comprehensive and very beautiful and amazing. Something that is like something to be truly, truly very grateful for. And that's why, because the mission of receiving Nur is to learn how to receive the messages indicated and revealed through the literal meaning of the Quran, that is why we focus on the signifier, the semantics, the language part, to the extent that it helps us get to the next step, which is the intended signified meanings, the messages that they are pointing to. So we don't have to become experts in language and in Arabic and in Balagha and in everything in order to understand that. Because it's a work that is done has two aspects. One that looks to the purification, self-purification, so that we are ready to receive, and one that is we understand what we are dealing with. So the signifier, which is the literal meaning of the Quran, is sacred, and it is an important part of the ayat of the Quran, because it plays a crucial role in the process of the sending down, of the inzal. The sending down of what? Of the signified, of the the indicated meanings that we will have to experience, not only understand, but also feel, experience, so that we have certainty, and there are degrees in certainty, so that we can witness and testify and make the shahada. And in a sense, the words, the literal meaning carries the indicated meanings and protects it. That's why it's very important. However, like, it's very important, but we shouldn't stay there. We need to go to use it for the end, which is to receive what is sent through it, because it is an ayah. It is not the end of the journey. Also, so in all this, if there is a sending down, then this presupposes a receiving. It is sent to those who receive it. I mean, we don't have time to go, but there are lots of ayats who say again and again, like, the Quran is healing for these people, for al-Muslimin, for al-Mu'minin, for al-Muhsinin. And it's the Quran appears from different aspects to different groups of people, to different states of being, of being. Yeah. When we are in different states, we receive the Quran. We are made to receive the Quran from different perspectives, as healing, as light, as guidance, as good news, etc. In any case, it is sent to those who receive it. And this receiving depends on the receiving and the receiver. And so it depends on our intention, how mindful we are, how ready we are, how ready in the sense not only that we studied the language and we do study and reflect together, that's part of it, but also in the sense of surrender, submitting to the will of our Creator in the fitrah, in the creation, and in the Quran, as it is revealed in the Quran. And actually, when we surrender, then we are, it's easy to be ready, to prepare, to study, to listen, to reflect. It becomes a joy. It's not a burden. It's not like something we have to do. It's not work anymore. And so when we intend, decide, and choose to surrender and choose to be mindful in the receiving, mindful in not being an impediment to the receiving process, then we realize that the message is actually sent down to us. It is conveyed and indicated by the ayat. And that message that is signified by the signs, by the ayat, is sent to us as rahmah. Rahmah to those with the right intention, those with the right stand, those who surrender and submit to their Rabb. We are told, for instance, in Surah Al-Nahl, which is Surah 16, ayah 89, وَنَزَّلْنَا عَلَيْكَ الْكِتَابَ تِبْيَانًا لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ وَهُدًى وَرَحْمَةً وَبُشْرًى لِلْمُسْلِمِينَ. We have sent down the book to you, making all things clear, and as guidance and mercy and good news to whom? To those who surrender, to the Muslimin, to the Muslims, I would say, but then would be misunderstood. Not anyone who calls himself a Muslim. Here there is something that's going on, something that you are actively, intentionally surrendering rather than resisting. So it is necessary, but not sufficient, to study the text and understand its literal meaning. It is necessary, however, it is not sufficient. I mean, an Orientalist could well study the text very well. He may have learned the language very well, Arabic language very well. Does it mean that he's reading or listening to the Quran? Depends on his intention.
Your conference.
Sorry? So it depends on the intention. He could be reading it as a text, any text. And there are degrees of submission, of course. Once we become aware of the message or a message in ayah, in the Quran, and we feel the truth in it, we are made to understand the truth and feel it, and we say, yes, this is the truth. Do we immediately put it into practice? It's only if we put it into practice that it's going to unfold its mysteries and its secrets to us. Otherwise, it will remain a truth out there, and it's not palpable. I cannot truly confirm it. And remember, Iman is a confirmation. Iman is not, belief is not only a profession of the tongue. It is actually the primary meaning of Iman is amana, is to recognize and acknowledge. And so Iman has been defined as, in the language, not in the religion. In the Arabic language, when you say amana, it means to acknowledge, recognize the truth of something with your heart and not to profess with the tongue only. Because if you profess it with the tongue only, it is a sign that of ignorance. Either hypocrisy, you're saying something that you don't mean, or ignorance. I'm not telling this from my head. This is if you go to the dictionary, that's what it says. So either it's hypocrisy or you don't know what you're talking about. So Iman is, that's why surrender has to come first, because I'll have to surrender, and then surrender means immediately put it into practice. As we put it in practice, in the beginning it may feel not easy because it's new, because I'm not used to. But even driving a car in the beginning is not easy, and then you get used to. It is made easy unto us. When it comes with the Iman, with the belief, it's very easy to become our new way of being. And then the more we put it into practice, we put those truths, revealed truths into practice, the more they unfold into us. And then we start witnessing them, experiencing them and witnessing them at higher and higher level of certainty, level of certainty of knowing, of seeing, and then of being, بإذن الله. علم اليقين, عين اليقين, and then حق اليقين, until the light of that revelation enlightens us, transforms our lives, inshallah, بإذن الله. And then when we actually follow the guidance of the Quran and live according to that guidance, we don't just profess it verbally. When we start living according to whatever we get of that guidance, then more and more we are likely to become the recipients of Insan, bi'idhnillah, of the sending down. And the meanings of the ayat starts unfolding onto us at various degrees, slowly, gradually, depending on our openness. There are two. One, it's slow and gradual, because it depends on how open we are to receive, and also on our needs, which only God knows and estimates. So God himself doesn't send everything all at once, because we need the gradual sending down. And so the Quranic ayat are like treasure maps or like keys to the treasure. And the treasure is the most beautiful names of God, the attributes of perfection, Isma al-Husna, which constitute the reality of everything that is meaningful, everything that is good and beautiful, everything that we long for and seek. It constitutes the wish Allah. Everything perishes except His countenance. It constitutes that aspect of everything that looks to the beautiful names and therefore to Akhirah, that is eternal and not perishing. And unless we use the map to actually look for the treasure and seek wajh Allah in everything, it remains useless. It's useless to have a map. The map is true, but I never use it. I'm convinced that this is a true map, but I don't use it. I don't go out into the field. I don't look for the treasure. Or it's like a key to the treasure chest, and I don't use the key. So we have to mindfully make a choice and intend and surrender, intend to surrender, to submit to the will of God. It means I will live according to the will of God as much as I can. And we start with small steps, one step at a time, and until our life starts being transformed for us. So when our hearts and our insight, sight and insight, basar and basira, are open, then we are guided to the treasures of the divine names, which we realize are everywhere. Wherever you turn, there is the countenance, the face of God. In other words, when we read the Quranic words, the ayat in the Quran, we might understand them correctly, we might understand the words correctly, but we may or may not receive their messages from our Rabb. The receiving depends on our readiness, our intention, and our submission. As far as the sending is concerned, this ayah is a guarantee, is a promise that God Himself is sending. Now, there is only one thing to take care of, is that we are ready and submitting. And that we are not the one who do the understanding. The understanding is done unto us. Only God Himself sends the Quran. Inna nahnu nazzalna alayka al-Qur'ana tanzila. So the human factor is decisive as far as we're concerned. But in the process of receiving the ayat, the sending is already being taken care of. Isn't that beautiful? All our prayers are already taken care of. They are already accepted. It's up to me. Maybe either I'm not, my prayer is the wrong prayer, or I am being impatient, or the answer is given, but I am stuck into not what I truly need, but what I think I need. And so when we are not open to receiving, we cannot remain in that path of gratitude. And that's why the same speech may cause some to be guided and others to go astray. It all depends on their intention and their surrender and their openness to receive the message or not. As we are reminded in Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah 26, it is said, يُضِلُّ بِهِ كَثِيرًا وَيَهْدِ بِهِ كَثِيرًا وَمَا يُضِلُّ بِهِ إِلَّا الْفَاسِقِينَ. God causes many to go astray with it, with the revelation, with the Quran, and He guides many through it. But He only causes to go astray the deviators, who forsake the path. They're already out of the path. they already don't want to come to the path. They have no intention. And fasiq also means foolish, bird. How do you say? Do you say someone with a bird brain, someone who doesn't think forward, with no wisdom? That's what al-fasiqin are. So yes, it says the same Quran may be a cause of guidance for many, and for others it seems like a cause of going astray. However, who goes astray with it? Only those who already don't have the intention to find the right path. Only the fools. So we have to be careful that we are not fooling ourselves. Integrity is very important. And that's why even if it seems like we're all reading the same Quran, it doesn't mean that we all receive the same message or receive any message at all from our Rabb, for that matter. Because the receiving of the message that is sent down depends on the state of the listener, on the state of the receiver. And just because now we have the whole text in writing or in an audio or in the internet, or the whole text of the Quran is there, it does not mean that we have been blessed with the message of the Quran. And even if I study it and understand all of it, it still doesn't mean that I have been blessed, that it is, for me, it is healing or good news or rahmah. It becomes healing and good news and rahmah to the extent that I surrender, to the extent that I live with taqwa, to the extent that I live with ihsan. I practice the Quran. I live with it. It becomes my life. As the Prophet ﷺ was told, كان خلقه القرآن. He was like the embodied Quran. Subhanallah. So the sending down of messages, the inzal, the process of inzal, happens in interaction with our intention, as well as with the, primarily, it happens with the ayat in creation here and now. When we get to plug in there or not with our intention, we become part of the cycle of inzal when we have the right intention, the pure intention of surrender. And if we don't, we stay out of it, even if we're dealing with the words of the Quran. In Surah Al-Waqi'ah, which is Surah 56, Ayah 80, the Quran is actually described as tanzil. Nazzala is the verb. Nazala is to go down. Nazzala is to send down, the second form. And tanzil is the masdar of nazala, which is an ongoing process. So it means the Quran, the sending down of the Quran is an ongoing process. The Quran is not a static codex. It is not a physical book sitting on the shelf or in an audio. It is not sounds only. That's part of it. That's part of what is, it's a means for the meanings of the Quran, the guidance of the Quran. But when we are not aware what an ayah is in the Quran and in the creation, and that's why we've seen how repeatedly in the Quran, everything being an ayah and what an ayah is emphasized again and again, because without that understanding, we remain in shirk. Our tawheed, our living and believing in one God only, and surrendering to Him only, and expecting everything from Him alone, and worshiping Him alone, being grateful to Him alone, not to anything else. Everything else we're grateful for them, but as gifts and blessings, not as sources. that is possible. That tawheed is only possible when we know, or to the extent that we know what an ayah is. Otherwise, our tawheed is always remain tainted with shirk. And it is the same for the Quran. To the extent that we are aware what an ayah is, we get to we start interacting with the Quran, the living Quran. Otherwise, when we are not aware of what an ayah is, we tend to imagine, to think falsely that the Quran is only what we see, the writing, or what we hear, the recited words. Whereas in fact, that's only the tip of the iceberg, only the map, only the signpost pointing to in the infinite alam al-ghaib, the realm of the unseen. The Quran is much more than just words. The Quran is rahmah, it is mercy, it is healing, it is huda, it is guidance, the only source of guidance. It is bushra, it is good news, it is light, it is a reminder. However, those who do not comprehend the Quran and do not, therefore they don't understand what it means that the Quran is being sent, then they expect a physical book, as we are told in Ayah 153 of Surah An-Nisa, Surah 4. We're told the people of the book demand that you, meaning primarily the Prophet ﷺ, make a book physically come down to them from heaven. But they demanded even more than that from Musa ﷺ, when they said, show us God face to face. And in Ayah 7 of Surah Al-An'am, Surah Al-An'am is Surah 6, sorry. We are told وَلَوْ نَزَّلْنَا عَلَيْكَ كِتَابًا فِي قِرْطَاسٍ فَلَمَسُوهُ بِأَيْدِيهِمْ لَقَالَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا إِنَّ هَذَا إِلَّا سِحْرٌ مُبِينٌ. So we are told, but even if we had sent, it means we did not send, we have not sent. Even if we had sent down to you a book on paper, on parchment, qirtas, and then they had touched it with their own hands, those who disbelieve would still say, this is clearly nothing but sorcery. So it's saying, low. Even if we had sent, they would not believe. What does it mean? There are many ayahs that we understand that the Quran is not written on a book, and it's part of it is the sound, that's part of it, but it's, as I said, the tip of the iceberg. The Quran is much more than just that. In Surah, the last ayat of Surah Al-Isra, I wanted to share because I love them, even if I don't understand the whole meaning. It's just so beautiful. But it is about Insan. So Surah Al-Isra is Surah 17, starting from Ayah 105 to the end, which is 111, I think. We are told, وَبِالْحَقِّ أَنزَلْنَاهُ وَبِالْحَقِّ نَزَلَ وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا مُبَشِّرًا وَنَذِيرًا. And we've sent it with the truth, and this truth, it has come down with, and it is with this truth that it has come down. For we have sent you only as a mubashiran, as a herald of good news and a warner. Remember at the beginning of this surah, in the very beginning of Surah Al-Insan, we were told what ayah was it? إِنَّا هَدَيْنَاهُ السَّبِيلَ إِمَّا شَاكِرًا وَإِمَّا كَفُورًا. So it must be the third ayah. So we are told all about the creation of human being, And all this is for the purpose of, we have shown him the way to human being so that we'll see what path he chooses, either grateful or ungrateful. And the messengers are also sent to us as a warner and as mubashir, as someone who brings good news, if we are willing to be grateful. And when we forget to be grateful and go into ingratitude, then there is warning. And the next ayah we're told, وَقُرْآنًا فَرَقْنَاهُ لِتَقْرَأَهُ عَلَى النَّاسِ عَلَى مُكْثٍ وَنَزَّلْنَاهُ تَنزِيلًا. A discourse. Here discourse is Quran, but Quran has a meaning in Arabic. It means recitation, discourse. So, and a Quran and a discourse, a Quran, which we have gradually unfolded so that you might read it out to humankind by stages, like step by step, gradually, seeing that we have sent it gradually. قل آمنوا به أو لا تؤمنوا إن الذين أوتوا العلم من قبله إذا يتلى عليهم يخرون للأذقان سجدا. So this is the second time I'm reading a sajda ayah. We need to make sajda inshallah after this is finished. Say believe in it or do not believe. Behold, those who already have knowledge, they fall down on their faces in prostration. They fall in prostration as soon as it is conveyed unto them. So it means you believe or you don't believe. Those who know, when they hear it, they recognize not only how truthful it is, but how very significant, how very important it is, and they fall in prostration. وَيَقُولُونَ, and they say, سُبْحَانَ رَبَّنَا, glory be to our sustainer. إِنْ كَانَ وَعْدُ رَبِّنَا لَمَفْعُولًا. Truly, our sustainer's promise has been fulfilled. وَيَخِرُّونَ لِلْأَذْقَانِ يَبْكُونَ وَيَزِيدُهُمْ خُشُوعًا. And so they fall down on their faces, weeping, and their consciousness of God's grace increases their humility. Again, قُلِ ادْعُوا اللَّهَ أَوْ ادْعُوا الرَّحْمَنَ أَيَّمَا تَدْعُوا فَلَهُ الْأَسْمَاءُ الْحُسْنَى وَلَا تَجْهَرْ بِصَلَاتِكَ وَلَا تُخَافِتْ بِهَا وَابْتَغِ بَيْنَ ذَلِكَ سَبِيلًا. Say, invoke God or invoke the most merciful. By whichever name you invoke him, to him alone belong all the attributes of perfection. Whether you are aware of it or not, all the attributes of perfection belong to God alone. And pray unto him, yet be not too loud in your prayer, nor speak it in a too low voice, but follow a way in between. And say, Alhamdulillah, وَقُلِ الْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ الَّذِي لَمْ يَتَّخِذْ وَلَدًا وَلَمْ يَكُنْ له شريك في الملك ولم يكن له ولي من الذل وكبره تكبيرا. And say, all praise is due to God, Alhamdulillah, who begets no offspring, and who has no partner in his dominion, and has no weakness, and therefore no need of any aid, and extol his limitless greatness. وكبره تكبيرا. Allahu Akbar. MashaAllah, beautiful. Tabarakallah. So the wisdom in the Quran being revealed gradually was the last point in the ayah 23, which now we understood. Now that we understood how the sending of the Quran is a gift of rahmah from our Rabb, coming down to meet our needs, it's for us. God does not need it. He's the one sending it for us. So we understand that it is sent gradually. The fact that it is sent gradually is itself a sign, an ayah, an indication that this is for us to fulfill our need for guidance. Like, can we eat a month's food in one day and then being done with it for a month? Can we eat a life food or drink a life's water in one day? If we ask even a question like this, means we didn't get what's going on. Can you see? Because we know in Surah Al-Furqan, in Surah 25, Ayah 22, we are told, now they who disbelieve, they ask, why has not the Quran been sent to him, to the Prophet ﷺ, in one single revelation? From this question, it's clear they don't know what they're talking about. It's like someone says, why don't we eat once in a lifetime and that's it, and then afterwards we don't have to eat? Then you don't understand what food is, and you don't understand what human being and his need for food is. Like, it's a foolish question. It just reveals, it only shows the ignorance of the one who is asking it, that he has no clue about what he's asking. So food is nourishment, and it is nourishment when it comes at the right time, meaning the time when it is needed and in the appropriate amount. I mean, we get sick if we get it too much. If we get a month's food in one, that would be torture if someone tried to give us the food of 1 month in one day. I don't know if we can even survive it. And so it is for guidance. It is sent gradually as we need it. And the life of the Prophet ﷺ, himself, and how he received the message of the Quran is a very good example of this. It shows us how it was sent. Not only it was not sent all at once, but also not in a chronological order. It was sent according to the needs of the individuals, the needs of the community. Then you understand that this is something dynamic. This is not a book sitting out there. This is rahmah, this is guidance, this is light, this is healing. This is ni'mah, this is blessing, this is beauty. Subhanallah, mashallah, alhamdulillah. So we understand that the process of sending guidance through the Quran and through the creation, because they happen at the same time, and eventually through the human fitrah, and we are given that inclination in our fitrah to look for guidance, to look for the truth, to look for purpose and meaning. They are all set, the whole thing, the whole system is set to make it easy for us to remain, to be on the path and to remain on the path. So the only thing we have to worry about, or the only thing that we have to mind, is our part, which is to make sure that we comply, to make sure that we submit, and that we do not swerve from the right path. And if we do, we make istighfar and we make tawbah and come back as soon as we realize it. And the more we do it as soon as we realize, that's a sign of surrender. The more it becomes easy to come back easily, and the more it becomes easy not to go out of the way. And that is why we have what we have to focus on, to remain on the path. How? The answer is in the following verses, 24, 25, and 26. In the next ayat, we're told how to maintain that station of Abrar, that hand, that state of being Abrar. And remember, we are told who the Abrar were and what they do in from ayah 7 to 10. And the surah actually started with the creation of human being from a drop of fluid, when before he was nothing to even be mentioned. Meaning, the surah starts with a very powerful reminder about who we truly are. And we forget that we are a creature, that we were not even, we didn't even exist. We were given existence. And even our existence, we were created from something so humble. And so the more we remember this, the more we know our position, and we humble ourselves. Before whom? Before our Creator. The more we are humble before our Creator, the more with that connection, we get that that distinction that we all long for. Because being His abd, being His guest, is what makes us special. And we all look for that being special, but we look for it in the wrong place. It's like Adam and Eve were looking, Shaitan tells them that they were looking for eternity, and he deceives them. That need for eternity is there, it is given to us, but to look for it within this transient life is foolish. That's Shaitan's trick. To have that need to feel special and distinguished and is a fitri need, but to look for it outside our connection with our Rabb is foolishness. It is in our ubudiyah, in being a abd, in being humble before our Rabb, that we find those needs are fulfilled, bi'idhnillah. So we realize that we owe our existence to another. In the beginning, it's another, until we get to know Him with His names and we say, my Rabb. We cannot even sustain. So it's not like He gave us existence and life and now we're taking care of it. No. We cannot even sustain the life that is given to us. Yet we make plans about that life as though it were ours. And we often forget the reality of death, the reality of this world being temporary. And rarely we prepare for akhirah. Astaghfirullah. So that was ayah 1, 2, 2 and 3. In ayah 3, actually, in ayah 2, we were told that we've been endowed with hearing and sight and insight in order to be able to receive the guidance. So clearly from ayah 2, the purpose of our creation is also revealed to us, following the guidance. Follow the guidance, it will tell you where to go. Follow the GPS. The address is there. Not to live our lives as we think, in frivolous or wasteful and meaningless ways that bear no results in akhirah. Anything that bears no result in akhirah is meaningless and wasteful. And although at the beginning in ayah 2, following the guidance may seem optional, since we've been given the freedom to follow it or not to follow it, as we are told in Surah Al-Isra. However, in ayah 3, we are told that there are very, very serious consequences to our seemingly innocuous choices. We may choose to follow divine guidance within the Quran and within our fitrah, and therefore within the creation, and be grateful for all the blessings, including our life and including the best blessing, which is the guidance, the light with which everything becomes meaningful, and therefore fulfill some of our deepest needs, like meaning, purpose, and eternity. Or we may choose to remain heedless. We may choose to live our lives as we see fit, as we like, or not think about anything at all, and just follow the crowd mindlessly. And so that was ayah 3. And then in ayah 4, we are the description of the consequences of the two choices come after ayah 3. In 4, it describes the state of the ungrateful in hellfire. In 5 and 6, the state of the righteous. In 7 to 10, the description of who the righteous are. In 11 to 22, the description of paradise and the state of the righteous, the abrar, within paradise. So you can see there is very little about hell and a lot about paradise. Subhanallah. And then comes the reassurance, the promise that God himself, he himself is sending the guidance. He himself is sending the Quran to us. So all is well as long as we trust him and submit to him. And so we are told, be patient with your sustainer judgment. Submit patiently. فَاصْبِرْ لِحُكْمِ رَبِّكَ. And since it is God himself who is in charge, then it becomes easy. If we are convinced, if we know, if we have that iman, that certainty that God himself is in charge, he's sending the guidance, no worry. I just need to keep open and surrender and trust him. Then it becomes easy to trust. It becomes easy to be patient. Because then we know that all that is needed is being sent at the right time, as we need it. Like the baby. When the baby is born, the milk comes. The mother, if the mother had never seen another child being born, she would worry what's going to happen to this child. And especially when you see the child first, has no teeth, nothing. What can it eat? Don't worry about it. Whoever created it sends it the right nourishment in the right way. Not only the physical nourishment, but also the way the mother holds the baby is also love and affection and compassion. Subhanallah, all come in one package. He takes care of everything. He's the one who created you. Go back to ayah 1. Who are you first? You forgot who you were. So we only need to make sure that we are open to receive the blessings. They will come, the right blessings will come at the right time, and to receive them from our Rabb, not from other causes. Meaning to be mindful that they are coming from our Rabb and not from nothing else. They come through other things. It's like life comes through water. The water can't give life, it is lifeless itself. And we saw in ayah 12 of Surah Al-Insan how the key to paradise, or to that paradise, Jannah state of being, is patience, is sabr and steadfastness. وَجَزَاهُمْ بِمَا صَبَرُوا جَنَّةً وَحَرِيرًا. And the reward for all their patience will be a garden and silk. And silk, there is the physical silk, the material, but we saw also as the description of paradise is allegorical. Silk means soft, smooth, an indication to ease and easiness, alhamdulillah, and beauty. So we are told, be patient with your sustainer's judgment. فَاصْبِرْ لِحُكْمِ رَبِّكَ. That is, submit with patience and constancy. Constantly remain in that state of trust, of surrender to your Rabb's judgment. Because only his judgment counts. Only his judgment has the power to create anything. In ayah 57 of Surah 6, we are told, إِنِ الْحُكْمُ إِلَّا لِلَّهِ يَقُصُّ الْحَقَّ وَهُوَ خَيْرُ الْفَاصِلِينَ. إِنِ الْحُكْمُ إِلَّا لِلَّهِ is repeated a lot in the Quran. But here we're told judgment rests with God only. Why? Because he declares the truth, since it is he who is the best judge between true and falsehood. He's the only one who can judge. And here it's not only judging about true and false, but the judgment of creating with be and it is. When he judges, it is created also. And we are told, وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ مِنَ اللَّهِ حُكْمًا لِقَوْمٍ يُوقِنُونَ. So who could be better in judgment than God? But for whom? For people who have inner certainty. For people who have yaqeen, they know that no one can have a better judgment. So if something is not happening, I want something, or I think I need something, it's not happening, it means God is making a judgment, right? Because his judgment is his creation, not like my judgment. So if it's not happening, that's an answer. Be patient. Trust that this is the best. Surrender. Let go of our own fantasies, of our own. Sometimes, we think that this is better than that. Who said? You don't know. Go back to Ayah 1 then. Remember who you are. So, and we are told, فاصبر لحكم ربك ولا تطع منهم آثما أو كفورا. And so be patient with your sustainer''s judgment and do not yield to any of them who is a willful sinner or an ingrate. Kafur can be translated as disbeliever, but we know in Ayah 2 it was used in opposition of Shakur. إن هديناه السبيل إما شاكرا شاكرا وإما كفورا. So most probably it means both. Anyway, someone who is ungrateful, is disbelieved, is not aware of the blessing. And Athim or Athim, was it here? So Athim is a sinner, but it's also a liar. Actually, a habitual liar is also an Athim. And unrighteous, just the opposite of Abrar. And so do not yield to any of them who is a sinner, a liar, unrighteous, or ingrate. When we surrender to God's judgment, then we are less likely to yield to lies and to be ungrateful. Because when God's judgment comes to us through the Quran and through the fitrah, God's judgment, we said it's God's judgment as it is made known to us through the Quran and through the creation. And part of the creation is through our fitrah. So when the more we intentionally surrender, let's say, to the divine guidance in the Quran, the more we will live and we will live accordingly, the more we will be more sensitive to the guidance in the creation. And we are sensitive to both guidance through our fitrah, through our inner GPS, our inner guidance. That's where the receiver is. And that's very important, that the receiver is cleared so that it receives, because the sending is being taken care of. So the more the fitrah is unspoiled, the healthier the fitrah is, the sounder Salima is, the more we start getting in touch with that inner guidance, that inner GPS within us, through which we receive all guidance, whether through the Quran, through the creation. And when we are not focused on listening to the guidance, then what we are doing is we're spoiling it. We are not focused on listening to the guidance because we are listening to something else. What are we listening to? We are busy with something else. We're busy with unfounded fears, unfounded hopes, unfounded anxieties, unfounded fantasies. When we are busy with those, we cannot be At the same time, focused on listening to the guidance. We're spoiling. There is noise. We're not receiving the guidance clearly. And when we're doing that, we lose our integrity. Our integrity was to be true to ourselves, true to our inner guidance, to surrender to God, and we cannot surrender without receiver. Surrender and follow the GPS, but the GPS is not working because we're busy with other things. We're listening to other things. Well, the GPS is working, let's say, but we are not listening to it. It remains in the background, or it's totally, the noises are so high that we are not even aware that there is a GPS, there is another voice there, a voice of truth. And so we lose our integrity and our truthfulness, the truthfulness to who we are, to we have been created to be as abd, and therefore truthfulness to our Rabb. And that's why the righteous, we are told in Ayah 177 of Surah 2 that I had mentioned, I think last week or the week before, are truthful. We are told that the righteous, al-abrar, are truthful. In Ayah 177 of Surah Al-Baqarah, we are told that bir, al-abrar, as those who practice bir, like a muhsin, ihsan, abrar, bir. True righteousness, true bir, is not that you turn your faces toward the east or the west, towards the east or the west, sorry. But it is righteousness to believe in God and the last day and the angels and the book and the messengers, and to spend to your wealth out of love for him, for your kin, for orphans, for the needy, for the wayfarer, for those who ask, and for the ransom of slaves, to be steadfast in prayer and practice regular charity, to fulfill the contract, to fulfill your promises which you have made, and to be firm and patient in pain and adversity, and throughout all periods of difficulties. Such are the people who are truthful. So al-abrar are truthful, and it is they who are conscious of God. أولئك هم المتقون. And this integrity is very, very important, because otherwise we are not truly surrendering, because we are not getting. I think I'm surrendering, but the GPS is not working. I'm going down another path. We need to make lots of istighfar and decide and take it a step at a time. And inshallah, Allah will be our mu'een, will help us, inshallah. In Ayah 25 and 26, we are told what to do in order to remain truthful and restore our integrity to ourselves and to God, and to not betray the trust and amana. We are told, and remember your Rabb's name at morn or at dawn and evening. It means day in, day out, constantly, and prostrate before him during some of the night, and glorify him at length by night. وسبحه, make tasbih. So واذكر اسم ربك بكرة وأصيلا. There is dhikr, there is remembering. Not your Rabb, isma rabbika. So there is the name of God, there is sujood, and there is tasbih. And inshallah, we'll talk about how those restore or help us restore our integrity and our truthfulness, inshallah. And that will make us remain in that, it will be easier to remain in a state of surrender. And to practice bir will become much, much easier, and we'll start enjoying it. Actually, it won't be a burden anymore. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وارنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. نستغفر الله العظيم الكريم الرحيم الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم ونتوب إليه سبحانه. Thank you. Inshallah, we'll stop here tonight.
Thank you. Jazakumullah khair, Sister Yamina. Is there anybody who would like to ask a question or make a comment at this time? Okay, so in that case, it's almost 10 o'clock, so we'll stop at this time. Thank you for joining us, and inshallah, we'll see you next Monday. And as Sister Yamina said, for Ramadan, we will change the time. Because it will be iftar time. So we're planning to have it on Sundays at 1 p.m. Eastern time. Inshallah, this fits everyone's schedule. And we'll send an announcement when Ramadan gets even closer. Inshallah, let's keep each other in dua, and Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you. Jazakumullah khair. Fi amanillah.